a leading group of girls' schools will refuse to offer places to boys who identify as girls in order to protect their single-sex status. The Girls' Day School Trust, representing 25 institutions across London, has updated its gender identity policy, stating categorically that they won't accept boys who identify as girls, but will and do support pupils who say they want to transition. They also added, though, that there may be challenges for such students attending a school which deliberately tailors its ethos and educational approach to cater specifically for girls. Well, it's very much a now conversation, isn't it? And frankly, one that I couldn't have imagined taking place a decade ago. So what is the right approach? Who better to explain than Dr Debbie Hayton, a transgender teacher and journalist. Debbie, great to have you on the show. Do you agree with this ruling that girls' schools are saying, well, look, we're single-sex spaces, and if it's the fact that a boy at the age of 13 now identifies as a girl, is in the process of potentially transitioning on puberty blockers, that's great, but you can't come in? Or do you think they need to be more open-minded?
I think they've got it absolutely right. Sex is sex. We all know what sex means, and single-sex schools cater for one sex. We've had a conflation of sex with this concept called gender identity, and it's caused huge confusion. And schools have been scared to apply the law as it stood for generations. We've got ourselves into a mess over it. So it's good to see the Girls' Day School Trust actually coming out and being clear on their policy.
Do you ever worry that there's so much spoken about transitioning now, there's so much all over social media, which kids use obsessively. We've come through the sort of Caitlyn Jenner era where she was Woman of the Year on Time magazine, that children are almost being encouraged to question their gender identity too much and that it's actually becoming trendy?
Well, this is the big concern. Children are being presented with choices that we were never presented with before. They're being essentially told that they can choose their sex. Do you wish to grow up to be a girl, or do you wish to grow up to be a boy? They can't, but we know that. But children believe all sorts of things, and I think we're misleading them and leading them up the garden path. A few children may be led down into very serious consequences, but for many more, the psychological impact on them is just unknown.
Strange thing happening right now in schools in general. The fact that we're even having this debate, which I can't imagine taking place even 2-3 years ago, suggests that there is a huge lobby out there and that we are talking about people who are transgender or want to transition or transsexual or whatever. But do you think in some respects we're talking about it too much?
I think it's having too big an impact on society. A number of people are unhappy with their sex and how they are expected to relate to other people. That's known, but transition is a rather profound response to it, and not one people should go into lightly. But increasingly, it seems to be presented as some sort of lifestyle choice, which is unhelpful and unhealthy.
I mean, there have been incidents of certain schools around the UK who are now turning toilet cubicles into unisex toilets because they may have a pupil in the school transitioning. Do you think that's appropriate at school age? Or do you think when, children are naturally entering very difficult periods in their life, periods like puberty, that forcing girls and boys to share toilets is actually plain wrong?
Well, it depends by what you mean about the unisex toilets. There are some toilet provision which is appropriate in unisex. Separate cubicles which are totally self-contained, and those can be appropriate. In fact, I think it's a good idea to provide additional provision for children who don't wish to share with their own sex. Not all children do. Where I'm cautious and where I think we should be asking questions is where in situations where toilets which were designed to be single sex are then converted into mixed sex provision without being converted properly. That needs to be looked at. But the actual provision of appropriate mixed sex provision, which is designed that way, so totally self-enclosed cubicle, that I think is good. But to say, well, we're not going to have boys' toilets and girls' toilets, we're just going to convert them. I think that needs to be done very, very carefully if it's going to be done at all.
Love having you on, Debbie. Always great to hear your very sage advice. That's Debbie Hayton, who is a transgender teacher and journalist.